Every single day, more than 450,000 new malicious programs are detected across the globe. That is not a yearly figure. That is not monthly. That is every single day. And every single one of those threats traces its lineage back to a handful of curious, reckless, and sometimes genuinely brilliant programmers who had no idea what they were starting. The story of computer viruses is one of the most consequential and least understood chapters in the history of technology. In the next several minutes, you are going to learn exactly how we got here. From a theoretical concept dreamed up in the 1940s, to weapons-grade code capable of destroying physical machinery. This history is filled with moments that seem almost impossible to believe. And here is the part that will genuinely surprise you. The first person to imagine a self-replicating program was not a hacker, not a criminal, and not even a software engineer. He was a mathematician working on something else entirely. That revelation changes everything about how you understand this threat. The concept of a self-replicating program predates computers as we know them. In 1949, mathematician John von Neumann delivered a series of lectures at the University of Illinois where he theorized that a machine could reproduce itself. He called it a self-reproducing automaton. He was thinking about biological systems and mechanical efficiency, not malware. But the intellectual seed had been planted. A program could, in theory, copy itself and spread. For nearly 2 decades, that idea stayed inside the walls of academia. Then came the 1960s, and with them, a game. Programmers at Bell Labs, including Douglas McIlroy, Victor Vysotsky, and Robert Morris Sr., developed a program called Core War. Players would write programs that competed inside a shared memory space, attempting to overwrite and destroy each other. It was sport. It was competition. It was also the first time humans deliberately built programs designed to replicate and attack other programs. Nobody called it a virus. Nobody imagined it would matter outside that room. They were wrong. The term computer virus was first used formally by Fred Cohen in 1983. Cohen, a graduate student at the University of Southern California, demonstrated a self-replicating program on a VAX 11750 system during a security seminar. His advisor, Len Edelman, is the person who suggested the word virus, drawing on the biological analogy. Cohen could infect a system in as little as 5 minutes. His experiment showed definitively that no operating system was immune in principle. His 1984 academic paper became foundational reading for every security researcher who followed. But academic theory and real-world damage are two very different things. The first virus to spread in the wild was called El Cloner. It was written in 1982 by a 15-year-old high school student named Rich Skrenta. It spread via floppy disks on Apple II computers, and every 50th boot would display a short poem Skrenta had written. It caused no serious damage. It was a prank. But it demonstrated something critical: a program could move between machines without any user intentionally carrying it. That concept would define the next 4 decades of cybersecurity. In 1986, 2 brothers from Lahore, Pakistan, Bazit and Amjad Farooq Alvi, created the Brain virus. They were software developers who had grown frustrated with piracy of their medical software. Brain infected the boot sector of floppy disks and replaced the disk label with the word Brain along with their contact information. They later said they intended it as a copyright protection tool. Brain became the first virus to infect IBM PC-compatible computers and was detected in the United States within months. The brothers reportedly received thousands of angry phone calls from infected users around the world. But here is what nobody talks about when they discuss the 1980s virus era: the infrastructure simply did not exist to contain these threats. There were no antivirus companies. There were no cybersecurity teams inside corporations. When the Morris worm hit in November 1988, it infected roughly 6,000 machines, which represented approximately 10% of the entire internet at that time. Robert Morris Jr., a Cornell graduate student, released it from MIT to obscure its origin. It caused an estimated $10 to $100 million in damage by slowing systems to a halt and forcing administrators to disconnect from the network entirely. Morris became the first person convicted under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. The 1990s brought an explosion of viruses alongside the explosion of personal computing. As more people bought computers and began connecting to each other through dial-up networks and later the early web, the attack surface grew enormously. In 1992, the Michelangelo virus caused widespread panic after predictions suggested it would destroy data on millions of machines on the artist's birthday, March 6. The actual damage was far less dramatic. Estimates suggest between 10,000 and 20,000 machines were affected. But the media coverage was enormous, and it fundamentally changed how the public thought about computer security. Email became the primary vehicle for virus distribution in the late 1990s. The Melissa virus of 1999 demonstrated this with devastating effect. Created by David Lee Smith, Melissa spread via Microsoft Word documents attached to emails. When opened, it would send itself to the first 50 contacts in the victim's Outlook address book. It overwhelmed email servers at corporations and government agencies. Smith was eventually sentenced to 20 months in prison and fined $5,000. The damage estimate reached $80 million. 1 year later, in 2000, the Ilovea worm surpassed everything before it. Originating in the Philippines, the worm spread via email with the subject line, "I love you," and an attachment labeled as a love letter. It overwrote files and sent itself to every contact in the victim's address book. Within 10 days, it had infected 50 million computers worldwide. Estimated damage reached $10 billion. The creators, Rionel Ramones and Juan de Guzman, were never prosecuted because the Philippines had no applicable cybercrime legislation at the time. That legal gap led directly to the creation of the Council of Europe's Convention on Cybercrime in 2001. The 2000 saw viruses evolve from nuisances into instruments of organized crime. The Zeus banking Trojan, first detected in 2007, was designed to steal financial credentials by logging keystrokes and capturing form data before encryption could protect it. Zeus infected millions of machines and was linked to the theft of hundreds of millions of dollars. What made Zeus different from everything that came before was its business model. The creator sold the Zeus toolkit to other criminals, effectively industrializing malware development. Then came Stuxnet in 2010, and everything changed again. Stuxnet was not designed to steal money or disrupt computers. It was designed to physically destroy centrifuges at Iran's Natanz nuclear facility by causing them to spin at incorrect speeds while reporting normal operation to monitoring systems. It was later attributed to a joint United States and Israeli intelligence operation. Stuxnet was the first publicly known instance of malware being used as a weapon of geopolitical warfare against physical infrastructure. It crossed a line that had not previously been crossed. And it demonstrated that the gap between a software threat and a physical real-world consequence had been permanently closed. By 2017, ransomware had become the dominant threat model. The WannaCry attack in May of that year infected over 230,000 computers across 150 countries in a single day. It exploited a vulnerability in Windows systems, leveraging tools originally developed by the United States National Security Agency. The UK's National Health Service was severely disrupted. Surgeries were cancelled. Patient records became inaccessible. Estimated global damage reached $4 billion. North Korea was formally attributed responsibility by the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia. What the history of computer viruses tells us is something important and often overlooked. Every major escalation in this story was enabled by a gap in legislation, a gap in awareness, a gap in patching, or a gap in the imagination of defenders. The threats never arrived without warning. Every virus solved a problem for its creator, and every solution became the template for something more dangerous. Understanding that pattern is not just historical curiosity. It is the foundation of any serious security posture in 2024 and beyond. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to CyberShield Daily for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.